Aviemore's been here for hundreds of years, but it wasn't really until the Industrial Revolution, when the railways came here, that anybody noticed the place. It was also the first time people noticed the truly spectacular views. And it wasn't long before Aviemore was bringing in some big-name guests. It was a big favourite of Queen Victoria, who used to visit regularly. So did Walter Scott, the writer who kind of reinvented Scottish national identity. And you can see why he liked this place.
So it may have its place in history in the odd old building, but don't expect quaint Highland architecture. This is a thoroughly modern town.
You know, we come here to do some climbing and camping, wild camping. I mean, because obviously where I come from, our island, we don't have this kind of weather. So it's a practical place to use the technical equipment. And we use it as marketing as well. We do photography here for our equipment when we get back.
But we go to Malta to get away from this kind of weather.
Yeah, of course, yeah, but we don't have this kind of weather, so we do vice versa. People from England, they come from Britain, they come to Malta for the hot weather. We come here for the snow and for the cold weather.
They jumped into a plane in search of wet weather. Fair play to them. And off they go. Crazy people. For all you can spend a day just looking at the views in Aviemore, that's not really the point. The town's geared up as a place to kit yourself out or take a break between trips into the Highlands themselves. There's not much to see here, unless you like this kind of thing.
This stone circle and ring cairn was put here by farmers and herders about 4,000 years ago. And excavations at similar ring cairns have found fragments of burnt human bone. Now, they reckon these were used for communal burial of the dead. But there's also evidence to suggest that these had a role in a ceremony whose origins and purpose are long since forgotten, but that seem to have something to do with the setting of the midwinter sun. But they could have given it a bit more room. Look at this.
I'll be honest, I was kind of wanting to hate the stone circle on a housing estate. But I didn't. There's a mystical prehistoric monument being erected, and someone's built houses over it. It's an absurd thing to see, and I'm glad I saw it. But don't do it again. We're a little way outside Aviemore now, within one of the largest remaining ancient Caledonian forests. This is Loch Anelan. Birdwatchers come here for the osprey, geologists come here for the metamorphic rock. But most people come here for this. Now how's this for romantic? No one even knows who built this castle or when. They reckon that sometime in the 1200s the Bishop of Moray began building defences here, though much of what you see today was probably built much later in around 1600 by Patrick Grant. And in 1745, after the Battle of Culloden, when the British routed the Highlander army of Bonnie Prince Charlie, many of the fugitives fleeing the slaughter hid out here. Moving closer to the mountains, we're now on the same rock that forms the Cairngorms. This is Loch Morlich, but this place wasn't gouged from the landscape by glaciers like many of the lochs in Scotland. This is a kettle hole. A huge slab of ice was once left here by a retreating glacier and buried under the earth as the ice slid back. When the underground ice eventually melted, the earth simply collapsed in on itself, leaving this vast hole in the landscape. And that's a pretty good clue as to the violent process of extremes of heat and cold that it took to create this place.
The Cairngorms are Britain's largest mountain range, and they're ancient. This whole area began its life about 350 million years ago in the Devonian period, when Scotland was still a volcanic land. A huge plume of magma rose from the core of the earth, and as it approached the surface, it hardened into solid, heavy granite. And by 50 million years ago, it had pushed this whole area high into the sky. By about 13,000 years ago, the last ice age was at its peak. This whole area was covered in a thick sheet of ice that eroded and plucked away at the softer rock, exposing that hard, dark granite underneath. And that's what we're walking on today.